So what I wanted to do was have I guess a virtual press conference is the best way to explain it. I'm going to go over how I analyzed the calls, and I'm going to, year 12, bear with me, I'm explaining that. I'm going to go over how I got the calls, how I analyzed them, and the conclusions that I drew from them, okay? And we're actually going to go over it live right here on this call, on this press conference. And if you catch me in anything I did wrong, please let me know. I have no shame about that. I want to do it right. I don't want to, I like doing a job correctly, if that makes sense. So, translating in Turkish is fine. Please forgive. Go ahead. Anybody that's translating to Turkish for people that don't understand me, please, I very much appreciate it. Thank you very much. Oh, please continue. Yes. Okay. Hopefully everybody has gotten, everybody's downloaded the client for Join Me. You can hear me, and anybody that can't hear me for whatever sound problems, Viewer 112 is translating into Turkish. You should be able to read it in Turkish. So let's close this document. Don't save. And let me just clean up my desktop for just a minute. Bear with me, everybody. Okay. So I did not analyze these in YouTube. What I did was I was sent MP3s. Okay, let's start off with that. I was sent 2 MP3 files. The conclusions I drew from them are roughly similar. We're only going to go over one of them right now. The MP3 files were provided to me by Mr. Gutman, Roy Gutman, from McClatchy News, and he's the one that asked me to take a look at them. He's the one that wrote the Miami Herald article that most of you, I believe, have seen. And he's the reporter. I'm just a technical expert. So he told me about what was going on. A bit slower, of course. I'm very sorry. So I received these recordings as MP3s. The MP3s were pulled from the YouTube recordings. I understand. I'm sorry. I tend to speak very fast. I apologize. I received MP3s. No. I looked at the YouTubes. Somebody sent me a link to the YouTubes, and they sounded very similar to me. So I don't believe there was a difference between the YouTube files and the MP3s. I was told, and I believe, that the MP3 files were pulled directly from the YouTube. You can change, you can extract the sound, the audio from YouTube, and convert it to MP3s. That was what was done. So let's just take a look. This is one of the files, and I don't know if you can hear this. Somebody tell me if you can. Can you hear this? Okay. So we're looking right now at the waveforms. This is the volume. All right. So when they speak, the louder they are, the bigger the waveform. When they stop speaking, there's pretty much nothing there. Okay? Understood. Good point, Viewer 157. Thank you. These are waveforms, and you've seen these if you've ever done a visualization on an audio player. They make pretty pictures and such. The program I'm using, I apologize, I should have started with that. The program I'm using is called Audacity. I'm going to type that into the chat window. Audacity is free. Feel free to download it and repeat exactly what I'm doing. I have no problem with that. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Somebody said a bit louder. I just wanted to make sure I didn't lose volume. Sorry about that. So this is one of the calls. Actually, this is several of the calls that were all put together. But I didn't look at the waveforms as much. Let me explain why. I was more interested in the spectrogram. Oh, the Audacity volume was low, sorry. The spectrogram, as you can see right here, is a choice for an Audacity display. I don't know Acoustica Mix. I'm most of the audio programs, audio manipulation programs, are pretty similar. There was a Turkish audio expert that used a program called Insight to determine the room sounds, and said this is from the room. Excuse me. And this is exactly, the viewer 159, exactly correct. This is the frequencies. So we're looking at the frequencies of what was said and what was on the MP3s, okay? No, that's fine. I'm okay with some questions. If I don't catch yours, I apologize, because the chat is scrolling by pretty fast. So we're looking at the same thing. Okay? You'll notice, however, that instead of getting bigger, the colors change. Where there's higher volume, it changes from a blue to pink and purple, okay? Now, what I saw was that the entire recording, for quite a while, there's a few places where you'll get a frequency spike. See that spike right there? That's a little bit of a frequency spike. Right there at about 110 to 111. But that's probably just an artifact of the call, an artifact of the phone, an artifact, artifact meaning something artificial, something not related to the voices or the call itself, whether it's from the phone, the recording process, whatever. Viewer 89, that's a good point. Let's deal with that in a second about the cryptophone. Okay, so let's play that again. Every time they're speaking, we change colors to indicate more volume. But notice the frequency domain, which is what frequencies they're really working in, are pretty much the same. There's not much work outside of that frequency domain. But if you move along a bit, let's back up. We just skipped over one. Look at that. Well, no, the whole MP3 is in here. My screen isn't big enough to see it all. So let's take a look and see what that is. Now that was an artifact that went way outside the frequency domain, but we didn't hear it in their voices. No, viewer 280, you can't have control. So, oh sure, no problem. If you, where did we go? There we are. This is an artifact that looks significant, doesn't it? But it doesn't seem to change their voices, their intonation, the nuance of what they said. Now, I don't speak Turkish, as I said. But this artifact right here could be just a click. Good point. That's what I'm going over. Bear with me. It could be just a click on the phone. It could be a contact in a switching station somewhere. It could be, it could be any number of things. Don't get me wrong. So, am I saying that this shows anything interesting? I don't know. Okay. It could be an encryption artifact. What we found was that these artifacts seemed, I haven't analyzed this statistically, but it seemed that they happened just about every time somebody said a name. So just about every time somebody said a name, right, bear with me, 89. Every time somebody said a name, one of these artifacts, or similar to this, happened. So my thought was, once somebody explained to me that, no, it didn't change the sound of their voice, it didn't change the nuance of what they were saying, the intonation, the delicacies of what they were saying. And I said, okay, I don't know. I don't speak Turkish, so I couldn't tell you. I had to have a native Turkish speaker tell me that. But once we realized that, I said, what if this is an annotation system? I realized that's an annotation system. What if somebody was exactly viewer 116? No. Here's the thing. it's not showing something was added, because the frequency domain is good, the waveforms are good. I'm not seeing anything. This is when they were loud, but you'll notice it doesn't really change very much. There's no intonation discrepancies. That's my point. I had a native Turkish speaker listen to this, and the reason being is that I thought maybe they're trying to change how the word feels. In English, we end a question with a uptone. Do you understand? It's an uptone, okay? Viewer 3, exactly. Exactly. Watermarked it for future reference, an annotation, a reference, a watermark. Well said, thank you. Exactly the words I was looking for. Viewer 86, as far as I can tell, they're real. Okay, so that's the real short of it. If you wanted the real short of it, there you go. But sure, go ahead. That's at 1 minute, 6 seconds, and 30 pieces of a second. Sorry, brain not working right now, tired. Exactly. Not necessarily tracking the names, but just marking them. Imagine somebody with a button. Every time they hear a name, they hit a button. That's so that later down the road, they can find all the names in the conversation. It's possible. I'm not saying this is absolutely true. I'm saying this is something it's a possibility. Does that make sense? So if it's a possibility, okay. Does it matter? No. If what I'm saying is true, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't change the phone call. It doesn't change the ideas. It doesn't change the content of the conversation. It doesn't change anything. All it means is that they might have been ticking names off. Yes, Otis. Maybe. It could be. I am recording the voice of this call. Is that what you're asking about, Otis? Yes. Viewer 3, you said your name was Otis, right? Sorry. Yeah, but here's the point. When I talk, my voice does not go through... Oh, good, very good, thank you. Well, no offense, there were quite a few that contacted me, but yeah, I know which one you mean. My voice doesn't change over a range of frequencies. There's a range of frequencies my voice is in, and it doesn't go above or below that range unless something unusual happens. I use a falsetto voice, something like that. And especially when you talk on the phone, your voice is compressed. Doesn't matter if it's a crypto phone, doesn't matter if it's a regular phone, your voice is compressed to a narrower range of frequencies. And what we're seeing here in this call is that range of frequencies is just about everything they use. Okay? Anybody that can't hear me, click the phone handset button on the Join Me tab. And exactly, it's not a ballistic print, it's called a voice print, but you have exactly the right idea. Okay. And when you talk on the phone, your voice is compressed because it compresses it down to fit inside the data channel. Again, doesn't matter whether it's crypto or not, same thing. So let's move on. We see quite a few of these artifacts. Like that. There's a couple of them. Do you like to listen to that? Okay. Sure, I'd be happy to. Give me a minute. I just want to show you a couple of other things that I found that I had to have explained to me. Yeah, we're only in minute 1 second 23.25 of a second. This is not hours. This is minutes right now. Everybody, don't worry. Where was I? So there were actually 5 conversations, as I understand, in the original set of tapes. And here's another artifact. And oh, there was another artifact. I'm trying to let you listen to the artifact so you can make your own decisions about that. Okay. You can't really hear the artifacts, exactly. And viewer 70, good point. And viewer 93, I don't know which name that was, 197, I'm sorry. Again, I don't speak Turkish, I apologize. It's very rude of me. Another 20 minutes. Can artifacts occur due to mood? No, because it's a frequency. They could occur in a waveform view, but in a frequency methodology or the spectrogram view visual that we're looking at, they shouldn't. Even when people get loud, which you can tell by the colors here, listen, notice the frequency spikes are a little bit, but not nearly as high as we've seen. Here, listen to this. That was very loud. But there was another frequency. Did you see that other artifact that went by as we looked? So then, let's go to 210. That's 2 minutes and 10 seconds, not 2 hours, don't worry. And you'll notice, right here, we have a dead block. There's just nothing there. Now, even when there's nobody talking, it may be a very, very tiny sound. I got asked a very good question. Viewer 197. It's a very good question. How come a frequency domain artifact have no impact on what we hear? In some cases, it might be too high a frequency. In other cases, what that is it's a sound that the computer can hear, but we can't. It's too low of a volume. Does that make sense? The 271, bear with me. I'm working on it. What I saw was that there were gaps. Now, even when things are quiet, and as you saw, it was very quiet. Here's very loud. Going to quiet, and then stops, dead, empty, nothing. And I said, is this where people were, you know, taking things out, adding things, whatever? And the answer is no, this is just where the conversation ended, and they put another conversation a couple of seconds later for me to listen. Exactly, the recordings were mixed together. In other words, conversation 1 ended, conversation 2 began. It's the interval, exactly. But I didn't know that. I don't speak Turkish, so I couldn't tell. But that was explained to me when you can generate this analysis by yourself easily. Grab the MP3 and put it into Audacity. You can do it absolutely for yourself. I have, you know, as a matter of fact, you can pull the MP3s off of YouTube. There's plenty of tutorials on how to do that online. I wouldn't want you to think that I had any influence on that. Grab the MP3s for yourself. Open up Audacity, which is a free program, and put it into Audacity. This is all your thing. I would have nothing to do with it at that point. That's all yours. Okay? So as far as I can tell, the 3 things that I found, let me explain the 3, how to explain this. The 3 weird things that I found were these intervals, the artifacts, the high frequency artifacts, and basically the, let's see if I can find the 3rd one. Now you can see, even when it's quiet, there's carrier noise, which is line noise, is what they say. So even when it's quiet, there's still line noise. Okay? The second conversation does start at about 2:15, 2:13, somewhere in there. Yeah, 2:12 and a little bit. Okay, so now let's talk about encrypted calls. So basically, sorry, let me wrap up the calls themselves. The calls themselves have artifacts. The calls themselves have intervals, okay? The intervals are from the different calls being put onto the same MP3. The artifacts, where we saw the large frequency up above, are unknown as to why they happened. However, they do not seem to affect or change the conversation. They do not, oh, you're very welcome. They do not seem to change the intonation, the tones of people's voices. So as far as we can tell, the only possible thing they could be would be maybe, and this is a maybe, this is a guess. Don't take this as fact, please understand. This is me guessing, okay? That it could be an annotation system. Somebody watermarking, or somebody used a great word for it earlier, I forget what it was. A system where I can click a button when a name hits, and ooh, there's a name, so I could go back to it later. Yes, we're recording this. Watermarking for indexing. Indexing for future reference. Thank you, that was perfect. So those are the things we found in this. Now let's talk who would need to do something like that. Good question, great question. Reason being is, if you've ever gone to court, the recording takes for bloody ever. I mean, it could be hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of recording. A lot of recording systems and transcription systems have an annotation button, excuse me, so that, 2 days later or whatever, you can simply skip to the correct spot for a name, for whatever, so you can find the names of wherever. Bookmarks, exactly. You can bookmark where names are and can skip to them. And if somebody was interested in just hearing all the names, they would bookmark the names, index the names, okay? So they could get a list of names. Now, is that illegal eavesdropping? That's not my business. I do not know the law about eavesdropping in Turkey. Can it be done automatically for some names? I don't know. That's a good question. If you use voice analysis software like Siri with Apple phones, and then yeah, you can have it try to pick out names, and common names would be no problem, and it could bookmark them for you. So voice analysis software would easily do that kind of thing. You can do, as far as I can tell, and remember, I don't speak Turkish, so I'm relying on somebody that listened for me. The spikes come as the name hits. I am not a member of any interest lobby, but the only thing that I can find, I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm not saying that I'm the absolute expert on this, but the only thing I can find is a potential annotation. As far as I know, this is an absolutely authentic recording of what they were saying. Now, what I can tell you, and I can talk about cryptophones to an extent, okay? Cryptographically secure phones are very, very rare. Why? Because they're expensive. You have to set up a full system to work with them. It's not easy. It's not cheap. Most government agencies have them. Quite a lot of people have them. And I will show you Robot Lobby. Whatever. Okay. I don't know that the conversations were given to me in the correct order. Does that make sense? I'll happily send these MP3s to anybody that would like them. I don't mind at all. And I'll put them up on a website. I'll try to get them up on a website in a day or so. I'll put up screenshots of my Audacity, but again, please feel free to download Audacity, and you can do this analysis on your own. I have no problem with that. So let's talk about cryptographic phones. I'm going to show you a company that does cryptographic phones so you can compare. I will give you a disclaimer. I know most of the people in Silent Circle. They are friends of mine. They are very, very, very good people. and they are very, very serious about privacy. If you have ever heard of PGP, pretty good privacy. PGP is pretty much the standard for encrypted email that cannot be busted very easily. And one of the gentlemen that started PGP, Phil Zimmerman, is on Silent Circle. It's fairly serious. Questions are cool. Give me 1 minute. So let's take a look. Do they have? Here we go. So Silent Circle, and most cryptographic phones do it this way. So there's a subscriber, whether a phone or a computer or whatever, and it goes to a server. And the person who answers the phone also connects to the server. The server is where the interception would take place. Okay? So let me explain that. Has anybody here ever heard of an encrypted tunnel or a VPN expert? Or excuse me, a VPN tunnel? A VPN tunnel is an encrypted tunnel. So it goes from endpoint to endpoint. Okay? Viewer 529, yes, I am. So at this point, we're talking about, let's assume we've got an encrypted phone call from subscriber to subscriber. What happens is this phone, we'll call it a phone for a second. No, I'm sorry. I'm not the best expert in audio. That I don't claim to be. But about VPNs, I'm pretty up to date. Sorry. Does that make more sense? Legit. So they're using PGP or an encrypted tunnel, VPN. And the keys have to be exchanged. You're correct. But the tunnel goes from the endpoint, the phone, to the server. Then this caller, the receiver, goes, that tunnel goes from that phone. Sorry. Goes from that phone to the server. But I've used VPN for you, porn. Well done. So if you have access to the server and the server has the keys on both sides, because remember, the tunnel from one side and the tunnel from the other side are using different keys. Okay? If that server has the keys, there is a short distance from one side of the server to the other, metaphorically speaking, where you can read the decrypted stream. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Good. Please. Very pleased. Now, what we heard on the recording is that one person is very, very clear and loud, by the way, and one person is very, very, somebody said is pixelated, which I agree. The pixelated call is, or the pixelated person is, it sounds farther away, it sounds very, very bad, bad quality, that kind of thing, okay? So normally, in a encrypted call like this, like we're seeing here on this sort of fake call here on the screen, both sides would be fairly equally clear unless one just has horrible bandwidth. If you're out, you know, with barely any cell signal, that might be fine. But normally, if both have fairly good bandwidth, they would both be equally clear. Okay? So what puzzled me, if they're both using encrypted phones, assume that for a second, if they're both using encrypted phones, why is one good, very clear, very loud, very solid, and one is very pixelated, very low? Now, admittedly, one person could have spoken quietly. You know, you can speak quietly, and one person can be very loud. And that possibly is what was. But the quality of the voice on the one side was not very good. So the quality of the voice on the other side was very good. It leads me to believe that there's a possibility that one phone was bugged, literally the phone, and the other phone you were hearing through the phone. So one phone you were hearing, I can't unvoice everybody, I'm sorry. I wish I could. It's possible that one phone was bugged and you were hearing directly from the mouth to the bug within a matter of a half an inch. But the other phone you were hearing through the phone system, which the quality is not going to be as good. So that's a possibility. The other possibility is that one person just had horrible bandwidth and you were listening through the server, again, as I described just a few minutes ago. Okay? So do I know which is which? Absolutely not. I can't tell you that. I have no idea. All I have are MP3s. I don't know what phones they were using. I don't know what system they were using. I don't know who had control of the server if they were using encrypted phones. And by the way, remember that an encrypted phone can call the encrypted server and have an encrypted, actually it was T, but yeah. It can have an encrypted server to this, an encrypted call to the server, but then the server calls out and to an unencrypted phone. So it's entirely possible that if you bug one phone, you'll get an encrypted call because one side of it's encrypted, one side of it isn't. Or if you go to the phone switch, sorry, I'm being a little confusing. Bear with me a second. Let's assume that we have one encrypted phone and one non-encrypted phone, a normal, regular, everyday phone, okay? If the encrypted phone calls into the server, that section of the call, that segment of the call is encrypted. If the person that he's trying to reach, or she's trying to reach, has an unencrypted phone, or just a regular phone, okay, then that server will call out on a regular line, a regular POTS line, plain old telephone service line, we call it, okay? And the POTS line can be intercepted actually fairly easily, okay? And the way to do it in the U.S., I don't know if this happens in Turkey, but we have something in the U.S. called Kalea, okay? In the U.S., every phone switch, every single one is built that the government says, click, I want that call. And they're listening. Done deal. Now, they have to have a warrant and everything else, but we're not going to go there. But every phone switch is built that way. So with Kalea, they can listen to any call they want on a regular system. Regular voice is regular voice. It's legacy, POTS, all sorts of stuff. What you know what to call it, but that is not packet data. Okay. Now, if the phone goes over a digital switch, then it gets converted to packet data. Okay. So a lot of phone systems these days, for example, most cell phone towers actually have an internet connection at their base. So they're converting all their calls, which they're getting over cell phone voice bandwidth, back to packet data and sending it over the internet back to AT&T, Sprint, Vodafone, whoever your telephone companies are. Sorry. Okay, I'll close the download bar in my browser. Anyway, so the encrypted segment of the call, if we have one encrypted and one unencrypted, the encrypted segment of the call will still be very difficult to intercept and play back. If you have control of the server, it doesn't matter, you own everything. Done deal. Okay? The unencrypted segment of the call, depending on the power of the people who are trying to listen, they could get anything they want again. So it depends. And again, realize I don't know what phones they were using. I don't know what systems they were using. I don't know who owns the VPN system, the servers that they were going between. You'll notice with Silent Circle, the encryption keys aren't held by Silent Circle. So even the server, you can't get it. You can't get in between there, like we were talking about just a minute ago, because there's just simply no way to do it. They don't have the keys. Wow. Okay. I hope that makes sense. I've gone over my Audacity analysis. I've gone over a little bit of how crypto phones work. I highly recommend that you, if you want to learn more about it, please feel free to look at Silent Circle. I'm not telling you to buy them. I just happen to think they actually have a good explanation of how it works, and they have a lot of good information. They absolutely are available. If you do need encrypted communication, their stuff's pretty good. I use it. There were raids on the VPN server provider yesterday. Interesting. The VPN server provider of who? The VPN server provider of... I'll be able to. There are the government... Wow, interesting. I am absolutely able to do a TV interview. That's not a problem. Viewer Otis, I know who you are. I'll send you a note in a bit. Okay, so let's do some Q&A, which we're already doing. Fantastic. Can it be ambient recording instead of call recording? 81. I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Can what be ambient recording? I can. Let me... it's kind of hard to do it live. Let me grab that. I can do that YouTube and pull the MP3 off of it and do that. Not a problem. And I don't think I can kick up 462. Sorry. 462, I don't know what I've done to upset you, and I apologize. But you're more than welcome to send me a note, and we can talk about it. It's not a problem. So... I only told exactly what I saw. That's the point. I only told exactly what I saw. I didn't make anything up. I didn't try to make anything that it wasn't. I didn't add or remove anything from the recordings I got. If the recordings I got were not wrong, or excuse me, if they were not right, then I'm sorry. If the recordings were correct, then I told you what I saw. Any way to prove who the voices belong to or don't? Yeah, you can actually do a voice print, and you can compare the voice prints to get to recordings that you know are of a certain person, and you can check and make sure that the recordings are the same. I am an expert witness on digital forensics. I teach digital forensics at a DHS Certified Center of Academic Excellence. I've been in court on digital forensics for ODA TV in Turkey, and I had a report written that was put out, not necessarily a frequency signature. For audio experts, it comes from the fact that I do video surveillance expert. It also includes audio. Interestingly enough, in the U.S., audio is not nearly as big a topic for forensics because the laws against wiretapping in the U.S. are huge for audio recording. Most of the video surveillance in the U.S. has no audio. So it's a much smaller field, if that makes sense. There is a separate field for forensics audio, you're correct. It takes, to accept sound recordings as evidence, as far as I know, it's an original recording, but again, all I know is what I got. So if you want to listen to the recording, I'm more than happy to let you. That's not a problem. Let's listen to it from the beginning, shall we?
Nasıl oldu? Niye yapıyorsun?
It's one part full original. Oh, excuse me. That was me. Thank you. I think it is a real conversation. Sorry, I think these are real conversations. As I said, this was multiple conversations that were put on the same MP3 track. You'll hear that in just a second. Wait for it. Right there. And the next one starts. That was the second one starting. Does that make sense? All right, I'm going to stop it for now. I understand that there are new recordings that came out. I haven't gotten them yet. Unfortunately, I have to do business. Sorry. I have a business to run, so I haven't had a chance today to look at them. How long would it take for someone to cut and paste different words were this to be a montage? You can cut and paste words together in no time at all, but you can absolutely see that. I'll create a comparison over the next day or so. Tomorrow I'm pretty crazy. I have a lot of appointments, but I will create a comparison with a fake over the next few days. But look, you see the frequency levels here? If you were to cut and paste words from different recordings, you would see it immediately. It would be like blatantly obvious, okay? It would be ridiculously easy to figure that out. If you took the same recording from one long continuous string of words, if you recorded me saying the sentence, "Hi, my name is Joshua Marpet," and you flipped Joshua and Marpet, you digitally cut the words apart and you flipped them, you would be able to tell because they wouldn't smoothly move into each other. There would be a choppiness. Okay? Yeah, actually, I do think it's pretty meticulous here. Look, I'm zooming in. Everything flows quite nicely. 443, there's a way to fix it. Absolutely. You could fix it so you couldn't tell. Okay? But you know how much time that would take and how much effort that would take and what an amazing audio and expert that would take? It's unbelievable. Okay? So it's possible, but it would take days or weeks to do it and a team of people to do it, and it would be very difficult to keep it quiet. Just my thoughts there. All right, I'm going to cut off for now, and we're going to end. There's a couple of people that are reporters who have asked for ways to contact me. I'll get on Twitter and do that in just a moment. And you know my Twitter handle, so you can absolutely contact me there. And I will put this recording of this session tonight, as well as the MP3s that I have in my possession, on a website either tomorrow or the next day. All right? All right, everybody. 250,000 followers tomorrow. That'd be interesting. You're very welcome. And I wish everybody the best of luck.